So now we're going to hear from Mark Cuban as he talks about the pay structure and now how guys have to kind of fit into this tier system. Sometimes their talent might be above a certain tier, but because you can only make trades for exact dollar amounts, and now owners will look at players and slot them into certain categories. That's where we see the mix up with a guy like Norman Powell playing like an all-star with the Clippers, but as soon as the offseason hits, they ship him out to Miami. So this situation is in correlation with what's going on with Trae Young and how his contract situation will eventually play out. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
You got to be certain they're going to get you over the top. If it's their final piece, you go all in, right? But if it's not, or you're not sure, no one's going to take them. Like even KD, it wasn't like there was huge demand for KD, right? KD, he's got to be a finishing piece, and that's what Houston hopes. Otherwise, it's $50 million is too much.
I would say a better example right now because of KD's age is Anthony Davis. He's at the tail end of his prime, but at $50 million a year under that 10-year Supermax, teams are hesitant. Even the Bulls had admitted that they're not giving up any of their young core for Davis.
One thing real quick, Perk. I was talking to a former GM, and he said what's going to happen, and I want to just kind of get your thoughts of it, and I don't remember it exactly, but it was like, you're going to start making every player a certain price, right? So instead of like, oh, well, we're going to pay you 125, we're going to play. No, the puzzle pieces have to fit together where we're going to pay you. We're going to pay this class of guy 8, this class of guy 10, this class of guy this. So now if we are trying to get off of a mistake or a trade, the dollars match. Because the dollars have to match dollar for dollar. So then you have to start pairing players dollar for dollar. So you might be above your value or you might be below your value, but they have to pair you in a slot because they can't fluctuate the trades.
Yeah, effectively, like, you're going to have to figure out analytically your dollars per minute played. And how whatever analytics you use, how much are you willing to pay for this plus minus amount? If the guy's a net plus minus and he's top 10 in the league, okay, but if you don't have the other pieces, you can't, it's a wasted amount of money no matter what, right? It's got to be a finishing piece, not a starting piece, like I said before.
Now, right there, that in a way sounds good when you're trying to balance the books and you're just looking at the money and trying to make it work. But in regards to basketball on-court symmetry and just having a feel for the game as a unit, that takes away a lot of the eye test perspective of the game, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because not only it's affecting the team building process, but it leaves you to wonder how strong really is the players' union if they're going to let guys get evaluated off a tier system. These are the dangers of letting private equity into the league creep in slowly. Because at the end of the day, they're all about the numbers. And Mark Cuban right here reveals how the hell did we get here and the true formula for NBA owners to make money.
Mark, I have my thoughts, but I want to get yours on how did we get to this point, to this second apron nonsense and all these rules, all these stipulations we have now that, people are mad about, and they got to actually, to me, do their job and their due diligence and actually, hire the right people in their organization to make sure that they set up for the long haul because of these rules. How did we get to this point? I got my thoughts. I want to hear yours.
From an owner's perspective, former owner's perspective that knows other owners, half the teams lose money. Half the teams still lose money because what ends up happening, Perk, even though the TV money goes up, right, a lot, 51% out the door to the players, right? And then on top of that, like the Mavs, we lost tens of millions of dollars when Bally's went bankrupt. Gone. Mm-hmm. It's like gone. And there was like hardly anything to replace it from our local TV deal. And so you've got, specific things like that where teams just are losing money. And the only teams that always make money are the New York and LA area teams. And even Boston made some money, not a ton, but made some money. But, not a lot of other teams, always made money.
Hey, Mark Cuban's on point right here. I've seen Brian Windhorst admit with a LeBron James that the Lakers had made the playoffs, but yet made less money than the New York Knicks, who missed the playoffs in that very same season. So it shows you how narrow the window of profitability truly is.
Well, but this is an investment, right? And I think I think that's one of the things
That's
that
kind
would.
of what I think is kind of ruining the NBA in some respects.
Yeah, no, tell us.
Because it's only about value. So there's like talking about more, like I got involved with this group, Harbinger Sports, where it's a private equity fund that only buys minority ownerships, right? Because now I'm an expert on minority ownerships in sports franchises. And there's not a lot of liquidity or marketplace for those ownerships. But for the big private equity companies that are, help the Celtics deal get done, as an example, right? They just want to see a return in their dollars. So they're just trying to push up the valuations. They're not like, it's not like when I came in or even when I left, for the most part, like about fan, right? And so I think that's one of the challenges that got us here is because, yes, teams want valuations to go up. It doesn't really change the actual operation of the team, and it didn't really force the profitability or push the profitability up, for most teams. So it's kind of a catch-22.
And you can see this play out no further than the Mavericks announcing that they'll raise ticket prices only 2 months after trading away Luka. Again, this is the multi-layers that Trae Young will have to go against when he's trying to get his money today. He's battling the ever-changing landscape on the court with just a new crop of players coming in, the league switching up the rules back in 2021, so all those baiting fouls that he used to do no longer work. The 65-game rule that kind of prevents stars like him from hitting certain tiers within the Supermax contract. And finally, he's definitely battling his own team. The fact that they spent 3 seasons without a president of basketball operations. That says a lot. But yet they're still hiring people underneath that position to sort of fill it in a ghostly way. This very offseason, they hired an analytical guy and they also hired a vice president. So Trae Young definitely has to watch his back. We'll see how this plays out.